the Hall of Fame is something new to me. We did not have the Hall of Fame here, per se, as we do now when I left. And it's a very special group. I feel like the inductees are they're part of an elite group. And that elite group does grow each year. And due to COVID in 2020, we did not, everything was set up to have this ceremony, and COVID nixed it. So we felt like it was important to go back and include the 2020 class with tonight's presentation, and then we'll also have the class of 2022. So that group is twice what it usually is tonight, and as you'll see tonight, the participants, or the inductees, excuse me, are from contributor, coach, and athlete. Those are the three categories that we have. So, that's a big component of it, and that's what we'll start out with. One area that I did fail to mention, and definitely deserving of mention, we do give away some scholarships tonight, and that's a very important part, and we'll talk about those at that point in time. But the scholarship portion of our program is included as well. So we'll go and get started with the induction part of our ceremony, and we'll start with the class of 2020. And the first person is a contributor, and Mr. John Wymer will introduce him.
Good evening. I don't know if that's a sign I'm getting old or I'm not getting on too well. Maybe both. It's a special privilege to be here tonight. I haven't spoken in front of a crowd like this for 17 years since I retired. Many of you youngsters don't even know who I am. Maybe your parents do, because probably I taught them. I'm John Wymer. As Mr. Cubbage said, I'm retired for 33 years as a teacher and a coach. I was athletic director here at Stonewall. I started coaching here, excuse me, in '73. We had 4 sports for boys, 2 sports for girls. Wasn't much else to do. We played football, basketball, and track, and golf for boys. Girls, you played basketball and ran track. Now you've got like 15 plus to choose from. Pretty good. My practice outstanding. So I get to introduce a contributor. His years of help, a number in the 30 plus years. Most of the contributors that help us is usually a parent that works in the concession stand and cooks hot dogs and hamburgers, little fried onions or something like that. Or maybe one of the guys that works the chain gang for our football team and so forth for years and years. But this young man has been with our program since he was in the high school. When he came to high school, when I was here, he was looking to participate in something. He chose to play a little football, he chose to run some track, he chose to play a little basketball. I think he even managed a little bit. So he participated, and he was happy to do so. He didn't run for 1,000 yards, he didn't run a 5-minute mile, he didn't score 100 points or 1,000 points, but he participated. And he was happy with it. When he graduated, he went on to college. Went to Virginia Tech, which a good number of our students do. He took classes and graduated in the field of agriculture or poultry or something like that, because he raised turkeys. Now I heard a story, I don't know if it's true or not, but he there wanted to be part of a team. And he was on the poultry dredging team, from what I understand. Now you know, if you watch the TV, they have national teams that win football titles, they have national teams that win basketball titles, tennis titles and anything. You watch now, Virginia Tech has a girls softball team that's playing great now on TV. Well, even they throw cornhole teams. They have bass fishing teams and so forth. Well, I want to understand that back then, they had a poultry judging team. And I was told by a story that this man was on the poultry judging team. Now, he had to go out and pick a turkey. That was the best turkey that was there. Now, from what I understand, he said every one of those turkeys looked the same. But he was walking down that line, and one of those turkeys looked at him and winked. And he says, "Number 4." And he picked number 4, and by God, that was the best turkey there was. And this guy is the national poultry judging champion for Virginia Tech. That's pretty daggone good. Then he came home, and when he came home, he once again wanted to become involved with Stonewall Jackson to help out any way he could. He came, and at that time, running was becoming a craze. There were road races everywhere. He started running, he started entering road races, 5 miles, 10 miles, anything he could enter, and he was getting quite good. Well, about the same time, I was coaching football, and I don't know whether I was coaching defensive backs or offensive backs or so forth, and my running backs, they were running here and there and over there, but they weren't running the way they were supposed to, towards the goal line. And the head coach at the time said, "You know, maybe you ought to find something else to do." So the head track coach says, "There's a new sport out there in Virginia called cross country. Why don't you maybe start up a cross country team?" And I said, "What the heck is cross country?" They said, "It's a new race that you run 3 miles. 3 miles? I said, "The furthest I ever run was when Coach Proctor Stronger got mad at me and made me run 4 laps around the track." So I looked it up and it says 3 miles of running for you. You got to have a 5-member team, and you got to run it over hill and dale. You got to find a farm to run on. Well, where do you find a farm that you can run 3 miles on? So I started looking. Well, I found one right over here, just across the bridge, Rude's Hill Farm, Mr. Rosen's farm, and you have to lay out a course. Well, you got to practice it. You got to run no further than 3 miles. Well, I took one young man that was a distance runner, and I took my whole basketball team. They immediately became cross-country runners. They didn't like it very well. Well, where do you run? Where do you practice? We practiced on the road. Well, you hate running these kids along the road. Down Route 11, around over the covered bridge, around the road, over the caverns, and back to school. Well, I'm not running with her. I was 6'3", 200-some pounds. They said, "Well, you don't have to. You just say go and wait for them to come back." That's pretty easy coaching. Well, these kids got better and better. I said, "Man, these front runner kids, they're pretty fast." Well, come to find out, my front runners were running down the covered bridge, getting on the railroad track, and coming up the railroad track. I said, "What the heck?" Well, anyway, this young man had come back from Virginia Tech and was running all these road races. He came to me and he said, "I'd like to help you out if you'd have me." I said, "Well, I'd love to have you and watch you guys run the railroad track." So he started helping me. Plus, it was a safety factor. You hate to run kids along the road. Maybe you should have somebody to watch them and keep them along the edge. So he started helping me then. He helped me build that first cross-country course over at Bruce Hill, Mr. Rosen, and he helped my kids get better. I got to stand still, and he got to run with him. And run with him he did. He got so good that he would run with the front runners, and they would finish, and he would turn around and go back to the kids who were running in the middle, and he would help them finish. And then he would go back to the ones in the back, and he would run with them. Mile after mile, he would run with them. and to make those kids or help those kids improve and improve they did. Year after year he did that. We would run 5 miles, he would run 10 miles. Every day at practice. I wanted to make him an assistant coach. He said, no, I don't want to be paid, I just want to help. And help he did, year after year. 30 plus years, probably more, he helped. When I wanted to have, or had to change courses because the cows chased my kids, we went over to Larry Long, behind his house. We built a new course, and he helped build that. And we practiced there. We ran the roads over there, and had a great course there. And then the daggone turkey virus got us, and we had to change courses again. And then Mr. Hines, you ever know Mr. Hines? Well, they used to have a corner right there. Now that's gone. We went up to the battlefield, and we built a course up there. They let us come there and built one of the best courses in the state of Virginia there with the help of the battlefield. So good was it that JMU came down and looked at it and started practices on it and ended up running collegiate cross-country meets there. It was pretty good. They still run there today. Planahan, she holds the invitational there that we started, and it's still really great. But this individual that started helping me, started helping build these courses. Matter of fact, he even provided land of his own out past the past the caverns, and we built a cross-country practice course on his land. But he helped, and he helped, and helped day after day after day, and he became so good that other schools invited him to their courses to help them out. As I said, he helped in cross country, he helped in track, he helped our kids get better and better and better. Those dates up there on the wall for cross country and track would not be there without our contributor. The trophies in the trophy case would not be there without his help. The medals, the first and second and third place trophies, the medals on our kids' jackets would not be there for them to show off without his help. Not only those, they can show off. Our kids that did not earn medals improved every day because of him. In track and in cross country, you get to see how you improve. If any of you people out there do any running or do any walking, you can see if you improve the next day. You've got a watch that you can time yourself. In those fits, cross country and track, you can see that you improve. When our athletes started at the beginning of the season, if they were running 11 minutes, and at the end of the season they were running 10 minutes, they improved. And that's what he did. He helped our kids get better all throughout the year. We would not have had these banners or these trophies or these medals or those improving times if it wouldn't have been for this contributor. I would not have been able to get along without him. During meets, I would be at the finish line whistling, and they would run faster. But this contributor, he was here on this hill, he was over here on that hill, he was over there cheering our kids on to finish. He was the best. I couldn't have done it without him. This contributor is a plus for Stonewall Jackson's Hall of Fame, and his name is Fred Greene.
Well, I would say thank you.
Oh.
told all the stories. So I told you not to be embarrassed. I didn't know you could bring up the poetry judging thing, but that is true. So I just want, I really appreciate John doing this. John's health hasn't been very good lately, and it really means a lot that you came and did this. But you gave me way too much credit because it was kids. We had good kids, good parents, and it was a very special time. And because of all that running now, I'm on a bicycle. But once again, I'd like to thank you, and I'd also like to congratulate the other members of the class. I'm very honored to be a member. And thank Keith. I'd like to thank Mr. Dorman for this special evening. Thank you very much.
Mr. Wymer and I, we came to Stonewall the same year. And he always could talk, you know. We had a good conversation, okay? Would anyone who was coached by Pam Hardy please stand? All right. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you. Pam Hardy coached at Stonewall Jackson High School for 5 years, 1969 to 1974, and she made her mark. In that time, she ushered girls track and girls basketball into the modern era. We started using real shots instead of rocks for the shot put. In girls basketball, we didn't use a bucket anymore for the goal. But in girls track, practice was not run a little, jump a little, throw a little, playtime. It was gut-wrenching, goal-oriented, hard work that paid off for some in trips to district, regional, and state meets, competing against not only single A, but also at that time the larger double A and even triple A schools. In girls basketball, she was there to bring in a transition from the 6-man team to the 5-man team. During her tenure, we still used the larger boys basketball, and we did not have the three-pointer yet. Her JV basketball winning percentage for the 5 years was 62%. Her varsity basketball winning percentage for the 5 years was 87%. But the winning percentage in positively influencing the lives of her players was, I'm sure, even higher than that. Ms. Hardy and Mrs. Margaret Fansler, her assistant coach, Miss Robinson at the time, came to Stonewall my senior year. That year, her first at Stonewall, we were undefeated in basketball. On my own personal note, she is directly responsible for the way I made a living for 40 years. By God's grace, I played basketball for her, helped with track and basketball during college, student taught under her, and succeeded her at Stonewall as she moved on into administration in Shadow County Public Schools. So I got to know her pretty well, and I learned so much from her, and I saw her in a wide variety of situations, and I can tell you that she was and is a class act. I read somewhere the 3 principles of Notre Dame football coach Lou Holtz, and I immediately thought of Miss Hardy, our shining example, who obviously felt the same way. Number 1, do the right thing. Number 2, do the best you can. Number 3, show others you care. And the gravy on top of all that is we had fun. So tonight, on behalf of all the girls you coach, we say thank you and we love you. And I am so honored to present this plaque in recognition of her induction into the Stonewall Jackson High School Class of 2020 Hall of Fame to a great coach and an even finer person, Pam Hardy.
Hi, from beautiful Thomasville, Georgia. I'm really nervous because this isn't easy to be looking at something. It's much easier in person. But it was very important to me to be able to thank you all for the honor that has been bestowed upon me by being nominated and then inducted into the Stonewall Jackson Athletic Hall of Fame. When I was called by 2 years ago, I was so looking forward to coming back, seeing old friends and acquaintances, and COVID took care of that. It kind of postponed things for a year, and I am not able to be up there now because I was diagnosed with cancer in last August. I am happy to report that all of my chemotherapy and radiation is over with. I am in total remission, but just got the big no from my oncologist and radiologist in terms of traveling just yet. So through the magic of Coach Jeff Berner, thank you, Jeff, I'm able to just briefly express my appreciation and gratitude for this honor. You know how in your life you have times where you have milestones and they're so important. We all have them, and they're different things for different people. Your marriage, the birth of a child, a special honor. But there's that one milestone that you never ever forget about, and that was my time at Stonewall Jackson. It was as if the stars lined up and everything was just magical. It was a wonderful time for teaching and being part of the Stonewall Jackson community. Girls basketball was it just, like I said before, the stars were aligned. And with coaching with Margaret Fansler, who I can't say enough about and can't thank enough, was such a treat. And I can still remember we never played a game that Bim's Bottom Bridge wasn't part of our ritual to cross over. And I remember every time coming back on the bus, the last thing we all did as a group was to sing the Stonewall Jackson national anthem, alma mater, sorry. And you're in luck, I'm not gonna sing it for you. The other part that probably added so much to this experience in my life was the community support and the support from the parents. Southern Kitchen became a favorite meeting point after winning, and therefore we went there a lot because we won a lot. And the other thing that I remember was the times that our gym was packed with people coming to watch the girls play. A lot needs to be said in credit to all of the wonderful athletes that we coached. These girls were so devoted, so dedicated, so much fun. That was all part of it too. That is why I felt like it was just a very, very special time. I can't name all of them because there were so many that contributed to the overall wonderful girls' sports program that we had. I also need to, or want to say that I am so proud of the program at girls basketball and the other programs, but basketball in particular with the coaching of Julie Wilkins and Jeff Berner. You have quite a tradition and reputation, and it makes me proud to know that in some way, shape, or form I was part of that. Just recently, I received in the mail a t-shirt, and on the back it said, "Once a general, always a general." And that's so very true. The very, very special person that sent me the t-shirt knows how much Stonewall Jackson, my years here, meant to me, and the people I associated with. And I am so thankful that I had that opportunity.
First, I just want to say that being a coach of females here for 3 decades, doing all the research for this was just incredible. I don't know if you've seen our Hall of Fame website, but it's really, really cool. And like I said, doing the research, what Pam Hardy did here was revolutionary. If you look at the yearbooks before she got here and then after she got here, girls' sports just changed tremendously. And like you can feel the energy coming off of the yearbook pages when she got here. And I'm sort of thinking it's such a special night here because Julie Wilkins is here, who I certainly think is one of the greatest coaches in Stonewall history. She is. She don't want to hear it. So she's here to induct Pam Hardy, who in my opinion is probably the most crucial coach in women's athletics. And then Dewie Dee, who was like one of my all-time idols as an athlete. Growing up, her mom was my babysitter, and I spent many a day shooting baskets with her in the backyard of their house. She's here to introduce Bob Harner, who introduced girls volleyball to the school. And then here's the really cool part. 2 of the athletes that learned under that system, their kids are being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. I think that's incredible. It makes me so proud to be a part of this coaching community and this school. And it fills me with a great deal of pride to be a part of that legacy. I have the honor tonight to introduce our first athlete to be inducted into the Hall of Fame from the class of 2020. And we knew that Molly was going to be special from the first time that she played for us. And not just on the court. If you haven't heard Molly Rocks, then you don't know what you're missing. Because Molly wrote it on everything to let us all know. And Jason changed that on her, and we won't get into what he put, will we, Molly? So, but I want you to know that her sense of humor started right from the beginning. We were getting ready, we were doing an audio recording for a radio commercial, and each kid had like their own little thing that they had to say. Like Callie Hovatter was like, "I'm gonna, drive in the lane and score 2." Megan Lutz was like, "I'm gonna shoot a 3." Jessica Richards, "I'm pulling down a rebound." They get to Molly and she goes, and you all don't know, for those of you who don't know who Callie Hovatter is, Callie Hovatter is the only player, boy or girl, in Shenandoah County to score over 2,000 points. She's 2-time state player of the year. And we get to Molly and she ad-libs her own line and she says, "I'm Molly Bell, I'm Callie Hovatter's hero." But I do want you to know that she gets this from her family. If you've heard any of them, you know they will jab on each other. I sent her a message that said, you know that your mom's coach, Pam Hardy, is being inducted into the Hall of Fame the same night that you are. And Molly says, yeah, I know. My mom said that's the only reason she's coming. Listen, Molly was a standout in 2 sports. She was all-district performer in volleyball, but basketball is where she left her legacy. Molly is one of only 9 girls in SJH history to score over 1,000 points. She finished with 1,207 points, 771 rebounds over her 4-year varsity career. She shot 50% from the floor. We won 4 straight Shenandoah District titles. We went to 2 state Final Fours. Molly played in her first Final Four. She got food poisoning and still played in the game. And she was one of the 4 players left on the court when we played the last 3 minutes with only 4 players, because we only had 8 on the team. She's one of the toughest people I know, and she practiced hard, she played hard, and she made us laugh a lot. And it's my pleasure to induct Molly Bell Davis into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I may have jokes, but I keep my speeches short, and all my quotes in the newspaper were very short too. I came to play basketball, and that's what I love to do. But it's a great honor to be inducted, and it's a great honor to be, my mom played for Hardy, so it's a great honor to be here tonight. Thank you.
My name is Roger Miller, and this evening, as you know, we're gathered here today to celebrate sports accomplishments at Mountain View High School for 2021-22. We're also here to induct our past best athletes to the Hall of Fame, Jerry Dellinger being one of them. My teammate, Jerry Dellinger, lettered in football, basketball, and baseball. His high school athletic career started as an 8th grader during the first year of Stonewall Jackson High School, 1959 and 60. I want to focus mainly on the basketball career. With Jerry at the point guard, Stonewall won 3 district championships, 1 at the junior varsity level and 2 at the varsity level. The 1961-62 basketball season, only 6 students tried out for the varsity squad. Coach James Odell approached some players on the junior varsity team and finally convinced 3 of them to move up to the varsity. Those 3 was Jerry Dellinger, Sonny Foss, and Charlie Phillips, all of which became sophomore starters. Jerry became the prime ball handler along with Sonny Foss. They broke full court presses, set screens, and got the ball to the primary scorers. Jerry wasn't a prolific scorer, but his ball handling and tenacious defense was an invaluable asset to our success. One prime example I can think of out of many was in the 1962-63 campaign when we played the non-district game against Riverhead. They were undefeated with a 6-0 record, and we had a 5-0 record at the time. Riverhead's point guard, Larry Phillips, was the state's top scorer to that point in the season. He had a 28-point average. Jerry frustrated Phillips so much during the first half of the game that in the beginning of the second half, Phillips actually jumped on Jerry physically and went to the floor in a fist fight. The referees, along with Jerry's dad, soon quickly broke up the fight. But we won the game, 63-61. Phillips, he did have 20 points, but that was 8 points short of his average. The 1961-62 season also, Jerry, being a sophomore point guard, were able to win the district, regionals, and made the semifinals at state. We lost that game to Wilson Memorial, who was undefeated to that point. They was the only undefeated team in our division in Virginia for that year. Wilson Memorial was ranked 4th in the state high school rankings, according to the Richmond Times-Dispatch. They beat us by 7 points. The 1962-63 campaign proved to be just as productive as well, with Stonewall recording a 17-2 regular season record and entering the playoffs in first place, eventually winning the District 10 Group 2 again. The top scorers get all the headlines, but if not for guys getting the ball up court, setting screens, assisting the scorers, and playing great defense, there wouldn't be wins or championships. All players, whether starters or bench members, play an important part in winning. Jerry was one of those players who wanted to win and done those things necessary to secure the victory, not worrying about stats in the newspaper. Stonewall, or I should say Mountain View, may be a small school. Maybe can't put big numbers on the field or court. But the rules state you can only put 5 players on the basketball court at a time and only 11 players in the football field. If you love the sport, work hard at it, give it your best efforts. Numbers don't always give wins or championships. Take football, for instance. When we played, we're back in the early 60s, the 11 offensive players had to play defense as well, and also had to play on special teams. In basketball, we had to bring up junior varsity players up to the varsity level in order to have a team. You at Mountain View still have similar problems. Don't give up. Sometimes great things happen, even with small numbers. I feel I was blessed to have played with guys like Jerry Dellinger, who just wanted to win and done those things necessary for the victory. I bet J.D. is probably looking down on us now smiling, maybe even chuckling, saying, boy, I never thought I'd be in Stonewall Jackson's Hall of Fame. I think you made a great choice for 2022. Thank you, and may God bless each one of you. And go Generals.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. With me this evening, I have Jerry's nephew, Lane Dellinger, and we'd like to congratulate all the inductees and their families. We thank the selection committee for Jerry's selection to the Athletic Hall of Fame. We thank Mr. Dorman, his staff, and the community for presenting the program. And we thank Mr. Roger Miller for the kind words and thoughts about my brother Jerry.
I never got a chance to coach this inductee. I would have loved to have done it. I got a chance to teach him, and he's a special person. Craig Dodley asked me to read this. He can't be here today, and he was chosen to introduce Richard Long, and so I'll read this from Craig. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and the Athletic Department for bestowing this great honor to introduce Richard Long and to induct him into our Hall of Fame. I only wish that I was able to fulfill this honor in person or to watch Dick Kroll perform this honor. We all know how much Coach Kroll loves the spotlight. First impressions of a person are not always a telltale sign of things to come. In fact, looking back at my first impression of Richard Long, I would have never dreamed that we would be inducting this young man into the Stonewall Jackson Hall of Fame. Richard was very small, quiet, well-mannered preteen, wearing huge strap-on glasses when I first coached him in our Little League football program during his 6th grade year. He watched and learned for that first year behind Carlos Delgado. During his 7th grade year, he began to turn into a well-rounded football player and rushed for over 1,000 yards in just 6 games as our tailback. Little did we know he was just beginning to be a great football and track and field player here at Stonewall Jackson. Just a few years removed from Little League program, Richard and his family moved just 2 doors down from our house. He and his brother Thomas spent quite a bit of time at our house and had a real nose for steaks cooking on the grill. Boy, could those 2 boys eat. During Richard's sophomore year, I was given the opportunity to join Coach Dick Kroll's coaching staff and was reunited with Richard. I've had the opportunity to work with many young men during my time here at Stonewall Jackson High School. Without a doubt, Richard Long is one of the best, if not the best football player to come through this program in the last 20 years. Richard was the type of player and leader that made everyone around him better, and his expectations of his teammates were always very high. That young boy who was small, quiet, and well-mannered turned into a big, loud, and in-your-face young man when needed. He was a man playing a boy's game. He was able to amass over 5,000 yards, playing not as a tailback, but as our fullback. The majority of those yards came on straight dive plays, and we did not have a lead blocker. In this regard, he reminded me of the great NFL Hall of Fame running back named Earl Campbell. Although Richard was quick, he wasn't always the fastest player on the field. He also amassed over 1,000 yards receiving. Yes, I said receiving in Stonewall Jackson. He also had over 1,500 yards in return yardage, scored 58 touchdowns. His success was not limited to the offensive side. As you all know, many of our players play both ways and on special teams, and Richard was no different. He played linebacker and averaged about 100 total tackles during his last 3 years. Had quite a few interceptions as well. He was also a fantastic punter. Richard Long earned many accolades during his time at Stonewall Jackson High School, including but not limited to 3-time Shenandoah District Offensive Player of the Year, 3-time All-Region B running back and linebacker, Associated Press All-State punter, Virginia High School League Coaches Association All-State linebacker, nominated by none other than Robert Castle of Riverheads, All-State track and field during his senior year. Richard had always set his sights on playing for the Georgia Bulldogs. When that dream did not come to fruition, he decided to play as a linebacker at Appalachian State and took part in the historic victory over Michigan in the Big House and went on to win an FCS national title during his time at App State. It is with great honor to induct Richard Long into the Hall of Fame here at Stonewall Jackson High School. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the honor. Coach Sherwood, thank you for reading Craig's words. They mean a lot to me. He not only served as one of my first football coaches, but as he mentioned, my neighbor and somewhat of a father figure for me throughout my adolescence. So thank you. Molly, I'm going to do my best to keep it short, but I don't know if you set the bar really high, so I'm going to lower it just a little bit. I got a couple things I want to say, but I guess the biggest thing in just looking back over my career, my time in the Shenandoah Valley, I mean, just thinking of all the folks that I'm thankful for. I know one of the other honorees tonight, Matt Tusing, I want to give him a shout out because I was that kid behind the bleachers playing football and trying to talk to girls while you were scoring touchdowns and making tackles. So I appreciate you for being the greatest you were during your time. So I knew what I needed to do when my time came. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for all of my coaches, those that are here, those that are not, Coach Kroll, Jason Lutz, Lefty Johns, Chooch, my teammates, families, the Santoses, the Corsilius, the Harlows. You all not only treated me as your son's teammates, classmate, but you also treated me as a son, and for that I'm grateful. I'm also thankful for my adversaries. So at times, my classmates, my teammates, my coaches, Augusta County referees. No wonder Riverheads has so many state championships. But my supporting cast, some other folks that definitely need their thanks. Steve Jones, my Nana, my Papa, my Uncle John, my dad, my brother, my Goliath, as I think of him, Tommy. Thank you so much, man, for setting the standard high, and all I wanted was your acceptance, so thank you. And last but not least, I know my mom is there somewhere. God, anytime I talk about this woman, I get choked up, so I'm gonna do my best to get through this, because I know she's gonna use this against me in the future. So, Mom, what a woman. I know a lot of people who know you as Coach Clanahan, Miss Long, the loudest person in the room, the person who's probably too uptight about something, but I know you as Mom, and I also know you as the mom that raised two boys by way of Charlotte and Norristown, Pennsylvania. And the fact that you worked 3 jobs to sow into our dreams and the things that we wanted to accomplish. I'm super thankful for you. And this award is yours just as much as it is mine. So I thank you all for the nomination. I thank you all for this accolade. I'm truly grateful. Coach Burner, thank you for introducing me. I want to give you a shout out for being the narrator to my career. I always love to hear your voice every time we came over the intercom. Typically it was for something good. So I'm thankful for everybody. Coach Cubbage, thank you for communicating with me. Hopefully this message resounds with those that are watching. So appreciate you all for the time. Thank you so much.
The Hall of Fame Committee talked about the class of 2021 and the inability to really select anyone for that group. But we also felt like it was important to recognize the adversity that COVID brought on the athletes at Stonewall Jackson High School during the 2021 season, or school year, excuse me. So for that class induction, we just said we were going to create one plaque for recognizing all the athletes and the impact COVID had on them, their families, and basically our community as a whole. Just as a remembrance and honoring the impact that it had. And, you know, there was a lot of negativity that came out of COVID, unfortunately. But I will say this, and we talked about this earlier today, things like this for Richard and for Pam are results of COVID. So there were some quality positive things that came out of that inability for face-to-face communication. So for the class of 2021, we'll have a plaque there recognizing all athletes and the impact from COVID. So now we'll move forward with the class of 2022, and I'll ask Mr. Jerry Wilkins to come up for our first induction.
Before I start with recognizing contributor, I would like to just say congratulations to all the athletes at Stonewall this year that participated. Y'all have been through something that nobody else in the history of this school or any other school in my lifetime has gone through all that stuff with you all. With COVID, was starting in one school, finished in one name, all that stuff. You've been through, pardon my English, pure hell. And I'd just like to say that 62 years ago, I graduated from Stonewall Jackson High School. That's 62. John Wymer was telling you all that stuff about cross country and all that. I remember standing on the sidelines when we played Strawderman when I was coaching at Stonewall. and making sure that we knocked the heck out of Wymer every time so he couldn't get off the line. So that's how far I go back. And I don't know, whoever made that statement, I think it was Pam Hardy. Once the general, always the general, except on Friday nights when you're playing something. I have to throw that in there. But I've had the good fortune of being affiliated with some really great people, some really super coaches from all schools that we participated against. And also, I had the good fortune of having good administrators. And the one that I'm here to honor tonight is Mr. Maxwell M. Hutton, Jr., who was the principal of Stonewall Jackson High School at one point in time. But prior to that, Max started his educational career as a teacher. In 1977 to 78, 73 to 77, he was the math teacher, a business teacher, and then he was assistant football coach and track coach. In 1977, he left Stonewall, spent 1 year at Central, and then the next year he returned in 1978 back to Stonewall as a principal here. And I know that some of us referred to those trophies up there, or banners, and when Max was the principal here during his time frame, especially in the 1978 year, Stonewall Jackson won 8 district championships, state championships, excuse me, during that time frame. 4 they won in 70, 4 of them came in the same year, from 1978 to 79, they won 4 state championships. And then obviously they had to win a bunch of district and regional championships to get to those state championships. Max then returned to Central from 1986 to 1996 and was the principal of Central High School. I'm just giving you a little rundown of what he did chronologically because he served in the whole county. And he was principal of Central for 10 years. Then in 1996, 1998, he was campus dean in Strawderman. In 1998 to 2000, he was the director of finance for Shenandoah County. From 2000 to 2007, he was the assistant superintendent of finance and administration. Now, Max, while he was the principal, it didn't matter whether he was the principal here or the principal at Central, Max was very actively involved in the Virginia High School League. Now, for those of you who don't know, the principals of the state are the governing body of the Virginia High School League. And every principal has a vote as to what the sports seasons are going to be, what sports are going to be totally offered, and classifications of schools, etc. Max, while he was the principal, served on and was an active member of the Virginia High School League, and he held the following positions during his principalship. He was a district and regional secretary, district and regional chairman, and he was on the VHSL hardship committee. And then he also was the director of the state golf tournament 2 years running. Now, I myself was employed with Shenandoah County for about 40 years. And during that time, I had 4 superintendents and 7 principals. And I'm not saying this to put any of other people down. I don't mean that. All of them that I had were great. But Mr. Hutton was without a doubt, he understood more than any of the 11 others the value of high school athletics, and as I like to say, co-curricular activities. Because I don't believe that the powers that be understand the real importance of kids participating in extracurricular activities. I don't think they're extra. I think they're just part of the school system. And Max was a great believer in that. And he stood up for every kid, no matter where he was, which school he was associated with. But he never, probably in the time that I knew him as a principal, he probably didn't miss 5 athletic activities in a year. He was always at the game. He was always there cheering the kids on, trying to let them know that he was genuinely interested in them, not just as participants, but as human beings. And I don't know if I have I don't think I've ever met anybody that had a bad word to say about Max Hutton. And he not only was great for Stonewall Jackson, but he was great for me as a person. He's one of my best friends in life. And it's an honor for me to introduce him tonight. And I want to thank and congratulate whoever the selection committee of the Hall of Fame is, because you did a super job and you chose this gentleman. Thank you.
I just want to take just a few minutes and first of all thank Jerry for such a warm introduction. It means a great deal to me to have him introduce me to you all tonight, because he and I truly are two of the best friends that we could be. He's meant an awful lot to my career also. I would also like to thank the selection committee, I guess, for being remembered. That means a lot when you get to my stage in life. And I left Stonewall 36 years ago. 36 years ago, I presented my last diploma to John and Jody's son, Scott. And we always remember that with a special bit of recognition. To be successful in anything, you certainly have to surround yourself with good people. And I can truly say that I was so fortunate in working with some outstanding and talented students over the years of my principalship. I had a dedicated and responsible faculty, and I had those banners displayed, and worked with an excellent coaching staff. And I certainly appreciate all of you who contributed in such a positive way to the success of Stonewall Jackson High School. And many of you are in this room right now, either as a former student, as a former athlete, as a former faculty member, or as a coach. And I certainly do appreciate this recognition. It means a great deal to me. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce to you one of my all-time favorite people, Bob Harner. Bob Harner worked at Stonewall from 1975 to 1983. He coached cross-country, track, and volleyball. He started indoor track, and I believe he even coached JV football. I guess I got to know him best when he began the volleyball team here at Stonewall. You see, not any of us knew anything about volleyball, and I believe including Bob. But somehow, he taught himself and he taught us everything that we needed to know. And what was so amazing is that he never focused on the bad. And if you can put yourself in his place of coaching a group of girls that didn't know anything about volleyball, you can bet your last dollar that there was a lot of bad going on. He always focused on getting better and doing your best. His second year coaching at volleyball, we went 14-1, winning district and regional championships. and that earned Coach Harner one of his several Coach of the Year awards. I participated in multiple sports, and I can honestly say that I think I was in my best shape when I played volleyball, which was kind of ironic, because if you know anything about volleyball, and I know you all do today, not like we were back then, you like play on one half of the court at a time, so how could we be in such good shape? Well, Coach Harner knew how to get people in shape, no matter what the sport. He instilled in us that if you were going to do something, you did it right. And that's what he did. He did it right. When I was talking to him last week, we met, and I hadn't really thought about the fact that, I knew he didn't have experience in volleyball, but I really didn't have any idea that he didn't have any experience in track. He only ran track himself one season. You see, Coach Harner was a football player, he was a basketball player, and he was a baseball player. He even played baseball, I hear, for a season at JMU. However, he only ran track one season, and that amazed me because he was so good at coaching it. That just goes to show how hard he was willing to work to do what he needed to do to get his athletes where they needed to be. Our track teams won state championships in 1979 and 1980 when Coach Harner was on staff. And under Coach Harner's leadership, the cross-country teams won the state championship, 2 runners-up, but 3rd place at state. They won 3 district and 3 regional championships, which also gave him the opportunity to win the award for Coach of the Year multiple times. Pretty amazing for a man who only ran track 1 year himself. He even got me to run cross country 1 year. I'm not really quite sure why. It was the story about he needed another runner or something like that. All he had to do was ask me and I did it. And you see, Coach Harner knew that I wasn't going to be a distance runner because I was a basketball player. I was only going to run in like 2 meets. He could have just sent me out there and said, Dewie, go run. But that's not what he did. I went to a couple practices, maybe 2, and he ran along beside me, and he told me how to breathe, and he told me to relax my shoulders because I was a sprinter, and sprinters don't relax, they just put it in high gear and go. You see, he took that opportunity to be with me. He took that opportunity to have it as a teachable moment, as time to connect with the kid, to connect with me. Coach Harner, he cared. He cared about kids. And he didn't just care about kids because of what they could do for him and his team. He cared about kids and he tried to say, what can I do for them in this very moment? Whether you were on the track or whether you were on the volleyball court or you were sitting in his guidance office. The one thing about him is he always made me feel like I mattered. And I believe it wasn't the love of the sport that drove that man to do the accomplishments that he did. It was the love and the passion for helping kids. And the other evening when I went out with him and I looked across the table at him, I said, you know, Coach Harner, I don't remember anything about high school, but I remember that I loved you as a coach. And he looked back at me and he said, I loved you guys too. And it just came out and I said, you know what, I always knew that. I always knew that. And you see, that's what's important here. Sure, all those championships and all those personal bests of these runners and all the records they set, they're great accomplishments, and I don't mean to undermine them because they're wonderful memories, and we are all so proud of all of you. But to me, that's not what I remembered. I had to have somebody look those details up and tell me. It wasn't at all what I remembered. What I remembered was the feeling, and I'm going to quit, but what I remembered was the feeling, and I remembered the feeling that he made me feel like I was somebody, and he made me feel like I was important, and he made me feel like I was cared, and he valued, and he respected me. That's the good stuff, and that's the stuff that separates people like him, or the greats, from everybody else. My hope is that today's athletes, and that you athletes out there, when you grow up and you make the choice to be a coach like Coach Harner, that you are the coach that those young athletes need, that you are the blessing in their lives that he was in mine. And I feel very privileged and honored to give this or present this award to him because he is still one of my most favorite people. Congratulations, Bob.
So the reason that I asked her, a sprinter, a basketball playing sprinter, to run with us is that we had to have 5 girls, and we only had 4, but we didn't get the invitations. And I remember the first meet, you don't remember this, you told me, but it was at Easter Mennonite one Saturday morning. And she crosses this bridge, and I'm over in the shade, and she comes over and says, I can't do it. You know, this is much harder than I thought. And I swore I stepped back so she wasn't going to hit me with her upset stomach. And she kept it in, did it, and the next time we ran a big hill at Charlottesville. How was that?
I don't think I ran it. I've never seen distance runners that like run so fast continuously. They're just like zipping by.
Especially ours. And then you also didn't remember, no, you did remember. You said, I don't remember anything from those days. But then you remembered this exercise we did. I called it wall sits. Can you show me? Might need a wall.
There are a lot of kids around here
Might
today.
need a wall. But thank you, Dewie Dee, so much. Appreciate the words. And thank you. My dad was a teacher here in 1959 school. And I used to come here with him. And we moved, and so I didn't get to attend Stonewall Jackson High School. But after I graduated from college, I lived in Newmarket and worked here, as Dewie Dee said, from 75 to 83. I have wonderful memories, and I'll tell you about a few of them, but not a whole lot of them because you've heard enough. First and foremost, I had the privilege and honor of coaching and working with some of the finest people I've ever been around in my life. I'm proud of every single athlete who I've coached. See John Brumback down there. And I'm appreciative and fond of the coaches and the administration. I worked for Mr. Hutton. I ended up working in another school system for a couple of decades. There's no comparison to Stonewall. I know, I've been there. When I arrived here, as Dewie Dee said, I hadn't coached track before. And I really appreciate a man named Bill Turner, who was the head track coach, one of the head track coaches with Wilkins. Mr. Hutton was a track coach, and a guy named Bill Walton, who became the JMU track coach for 30 years. And they taught me a lot. It was hard to teach me because I just graduated from Madison College. And I knew everything. So thank you guys for having the patience. Bill Turner got me certified with VHSL. That was a big moment. Dewie Dee covered the things here that I wanted that I'm glad I don't have to say. I had the pleasure of coaching, and it was an honor to coach John Brumback. He's going to be next. John set the school's 2-mile record. You go over and see it there. It's still there from 1982. That's your senior year. You know, John, we went out to practice cross country one day and put in a normal workout, did hill work, and 6 or 8 miles. And I said, let's go back and get on the track because we need to do some speed work. Let's run a 2-mile. I think the record was about 10:10.
10:20. And John gets in there on the track after a full cross-country workout and runs like a 9:43. What's your record? 9:30 something. Yeah, it is. No one had ever run that after he did it after a full practice. John's mother also drove our cross-country team when we went through a series of meets to qualify. She drove us to Cincinnati to the national championships, 880 championships. We were coming back, and it snowed like crazy. She's just, these are just the wonderful memories. We joined the Shenandoah Valley Track Club, went there in summers. Thank you, Mr. Hutton, for helping us to get there every week. I did know something about volleyball. First, I knew I didn't know anything, and then I took the class. They had something called power volleyball, and I hope everyone's seen what it is, because it's not this, like we play in the yards. And so I took that class, and I learned this whole new way of doing things. And then Mr. Hutton asked me if I was interested in coaching, and I was. And I brought the JMU, the Madison College volleyball team, right here at Stonewall, and they trained us. And we went as far as we could go, which was a regional championship. And we had a person, anyone ever heard of Sandy Rinker? Of course you did. Sandy Rinker was a lefty, and she served the ball hard, and it would just barely get over the net and sink. If we were to go out and just stand and try to serve these balls into the correct place, maybe we could do 10 in a row. That'd be really great. She did 119. I sent her information into Sports Illustrated. She got it Sports Illustrated. I worked for 40 years total. Nothing else ever compared to this. My time in the Valley at Stone Jackson High School. I've always loved the students here, and the school, and the community. And I'm blessed to have had the privilege, and I'm extremely honored for this induction. I thank the selection committee. Don't know who you are. I've got a friend here who might have helped. Leonard Dean is one of the finest men I've ever known in my life. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to give a round of applause for all the members over here, because it took a lot of coordination to get everybody over here, and a lot of those people are responsible for those hanging on the wall. Next, I'd like to congratulate the class of 2022. The years you have accomplished and the memories that you have shared will be a part of your life forever. The journey for you has just begun. Your knowledge and dreams will continue to grow into the future. The underclassmen, this is what you have to look forward to. Do all you can, because time flies by. This brings back unforgettable memories at Stonewall. Some 40 years later, for me to see many people that have touched my lives and lives of other students that have proudly walked the halls of Stonewall, principals, coaches, and classmates. I have the honor to present one of the Hall of Fame Athlete Awards to one of my classmates, in which I graduated the class of 1982, Mr. John Brumback. John was a long-distance runner, had very good teammates. As a 10th grader in cross-country team, they won the district, region, and was third in the state. As a junior, the team won district, region, and was second in the state. And John was a member of the All-Star cross-country team. As a senior, the team won the district, region, and were state champions. As an individual, John set the Stonewall course record was all district, all region, and all state, as well as individual state champions, all while under the Hall of Fame coach Bob Harner. In track, John followed the footsteps of Mr. Mike Blosser. As a senior, he won the district, region, state 2-mile, which is now called 3,200 meters. John broke Mike Blosser's Stonewall record in the 2-mile, which John still holds today. It is my honor and privilege to present the Hall of Fame Athlete Award to John Brumback. Thank you all. I'm not a public speaker. I owe all this to Coach Harner. Big influence in my life. Funny story, talking about the 2-mile. SJ relays, everybody knows what that is. He said, John, he said, I'm going to put you in the 440, 800 mile, 2-mile, and a mile relay, I believe. Had to run them all. SJ relays, I broke the school record for the mile. But I was disqualified because Coach had to run so many events. It was good memories. This is certainly an honor. So, thank you all.
I had the privilege of introducing our next inductee. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to ask Tara Strawderman and Sandy to come up from down here. She's our next inductee. Come on down, Tara. Tara had the privilege of dealing with probably two of the grumpiest coaches in school history, and that's Coach Kroll and myself. But I don't use the right speech. I usually shoot from the hip. And when I inducted Coach Kroll, I wrote a speech, and I've got to made some notes tonight because Tara is a very special young lady. I think the important thing with Tara, I can sit here and talk all night, but it's never going to give her justice for who she was as an athlete, and more so as a person. She was a good athlete, but her work ethic and desire to get better and her ability to learn and understand what coaches were telling her, that's what made her a great three-sport athlete. In volleyball, which is what she played for me in one of the two sports, she was a factor at the net. She thought she was a horrible volleyball player. I said, just listen to what we can do here. And we took advantage of her ability to, she was a great athlete, jumping-wise. She understood direction of the ball and so forth. And she ended up setting a record for us that was eventually broken by Jessica Showman, who does have a few inches on Tara. But she set a blocking record for us. And she was named as an all-district honorable mention volleyball player, coming from a player who thought she was not a very good volleyball player. In basketball, and I'm ad-libbing from memory, so Coach Burner, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was an excellent defensive player, very hard worker, and was able to get a lot of her scoring off of defensive steals and just smart play. Track was the sport of the three that Tara truly excelled. She was a great long jumper and triple jumper, and she was an excellent sprinter in the 200 and 400 events, which I call the gut races. You got to have guts because it's full on, as Dewey said. And but in track, she participated in the state meet several years, and she was a state runner-up in the long jump, and I think it's your senior year. Is that correct? She was a state runner-up, and just great career in track as well. If I did use one word to describe Tara, it would be she's like a sponge. And it's a compliment, typical backhanded compliment as she's used to from me. But she was always soaking up everything that you were telling her. And she was so easy to coach. I never had the response of telling Tara something and her just like blowing me off or anything like that. It was, tell me what I need to do to get better. She could also process the techniques and knew herself when she did something wrong. She could then correct the mistakes, and that's a special ability. When you can analyze your performance yourself, recognize your mistake or what you need to improve, and then make those adjustments. That's not every athlete has that ability, and that's a special characteristic that's very impressive for Tara. She did advance after high school. She went on to Bridgewater College, which is my alma mater as well, and had a great career there in track and obviously as a student. I knew that Tara would always do well in life, and it wasn't just about athletics. She was focused. She was driven. These are characteristics that are going to allow you to excel later on in life as well. She wanted to learn and be the best possible at whatever she was doing. She was humble, and she was a team player. She really did not want the spotlight on her, but due to her athletic abilities and work ethic, it was on her. She had a sense of humor. Someone mentioned sense of humor earlier. Coach Cole and I would get kind of intense at times, and usually her humor settled us back down, which is reverse the way it's supposed to be. But that's just the type of person she was. She had a great personality, still does, and that's just who she is. I can honestly say this, and I can't say this about too many of the athletes I coached because I was intense. I don't ever remember being frustrated with Tara. Now, she may tell you differently, I'm not sure. But with my personality, that's a huge accomplishment because the bar was always set high for my athletes, and she was always there, usually one step ahead of me. As expected, I said she would do well in life, and she has. She has a family. She's a great mom, great spouse. She's a teacher at Spotswood High School. I'm friends with her principal, and he raves about her every time we see each other because I always ask how things going for her. And he's always very complimentary. The characteristic that was part of her during high school as a student has remained with her as an adult, and that is she has a positive impact on everyone that she is around. She is Tara Strawderman. Thanks for being an athlete and student you were in high school, and thanks for being my friend as an adult. Coach Kroll and I are proud of you.
Okay, this is going to be short and sweet because I'm not good at this. I'm a teacher. Thank you. And tonight, is really about the athletes that are performing now in school. It's about you guys, and I do apologize for taking up a little bit of your time because I know it's long. But my biggest fear standing here was definitely speaking over coming down the steps and over here, and my family sat at the top. So that was my biggest worry. My biggest fear was really missing all the people I have to thank, because I had a little bit of God-given talent, or I had a little bit of God-given talent, and it's really the people around me that blessed me in everything I've done. I have a strong, supportive family. The teachers here were amazing. The coaches were amazing. They were my support system. And I don't even know why I made cards because I'm already off track. It was I remember the wins, the losses in doing all the sports, in basketball and volleyball and track, but what I remember the most are the conversations, the relationships that I built, the jokes and the fun that I had with Coach Coach Berner, I'm wondering if Kermit the Frog is still
All the time.
going strong. Coach Cubbage, Coach Sherwood, Coach Ritchie, and Coach Kroll. I was really afraid of crying up here today because Coach Kroll was such a strong impact in my life and one of my true heroes. And just kind of leave you with a couple things that I learned while I was here that I've carried on into my adult life, and a conversation that I even had with my own child like a week ago. I remember begging my mom after a late night trip to George Mason, please let me go in late to school tomorrow. Please let me sleep in. And she said, no, you made a commitment. And that includes going to school on time. And if you're too tired to go to school, you're too tired to play ball. And I had that same conversation with my daughter a week ago. Coach Kroll's wisdom, years after I graduated, I came back and I'm like, I'm not doing sports anymore. I feel like such a loser. And he said, Tara, it's better to be a has-been than a never was. And lastly, just to you young athletes out there, look around. Never again in your life will you have the support system that you have right now. The teachers and the coaches pulling for you, supporting you every day, they're what makes it happen. And look at them when you go through the halls tomorrow, well, next year, because you already graduated, right? Some of you, but look at them, thank them. They're your support system. Thank you guys so much. This is such an honor and such a blessing. Thank you.
It's my honor to introduce Matt Tusing as an inductee in the 2022 Stonewall Jackson Hall of Fame. Matt was our go-to guy for 3 years in football, but more than a player, Matt was a leader. When Matt came to us as a sophomore, he spent the summer before coming to us at a camp at A&U, a conditioning camp. He played his sophomore year, and the following year he got, 7 or 8 guys together and dragged them all to A&U, I think under the threat, I don't know what, to the same conditioning camp, and they all came in rare to go. We had a magical season that year. We were ranked, 3rd or 4th in the state. We were sent down to Lunenburg to play Lunenburg Central. We weren't given a snowball's chance in a hot place to win. At halftime, some of our fans were hanging around the Lunenburg locker room. They told me this. The Lunenburg coach walked in and he wasn't happy. And he yelled at his players. He says, "Can somebody please tell me what's going on?" And one of the boys looked at him and said, "Coach, the dang mountain boy won't fall down." That was a 3-time Bull Run District offensive player, Shenandoah District rather, offensive player at running back, and he was a 2-time defensive player. He was 2001 Northern Virginia Daily Defensive Player of the Year. He led us to 2000 Reedy Championship, and to the championship game again in 2001. So it's my honor and my privilege to introduce Matt Tusing. The mountain boy won't fall down.
All right, so I'll try to follow Molly. Keep this short and sweet, but for different reasons. I got a 2-year-old probably that's past his bedtime. To me, like Tara, I try not to get emotional talking about Coach Kroll, but so many people in this community, he means the world. But to me, community is not just about Coach Kroll. It's every single parent, every coach, family member that travels the tens of thousands of miles that they travel throughout all of you student athletes' careers. I'll say I have the fortunate and unfortunate opportunity right now to be in the oil business, working for Holtzman Oil, so don't let anybody hold that against me, but there's also a financial cost to that. So the commitment that all your families make to each and every one of you, be grateful, because it really means, it should mean a lot to you now, but the older you get, the more it'll mean to you. So I want to thank my mom and my stepdad. They did a lot to me, and I apologize for getting emotional, but as I've gotten older and I got kids, it's really changed me a lot. And but to me, again, this is about community. So thank you to every person in this community, the board of inductees, every coach, Coach Sherwood. I played for Coach Wymer. Feels like 20 years ago. He was still here. He was coaching. Even that man down there that doesn't say much, Leonard Beall, and Coach Cubbage, of course. And even, I think back to Little League, and no longer with us, Benny Stout. Great man, great visionary, did a lot for this community. Charlie, Tommy Fry, a lot of guys that did spend a lot of Saturdays, weeknights, dedicating their time to, the youth. So as I start to dedicate my time to the youth of the community and my kids and their teammates, I ask each of you, if you return to this community, please do the same, because you don't know which life that you may end up touching. So I wasn't behind the bleachers watching Richard play, but I do remember walking into 7-Eleven and seeing Coach Kroll one evening, and he said, "You've got to come watch this kid. You'll be impressed." And I did, several times. So it's great to follow him and so many other great people that have been inducted to this hall. So success breeds success, and it's no doubt without the support of this entire community. So thank you.